Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to wait 1 minute while everyone comes into the meeting from the waiting room. For a few more people. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. This is another NILOP information session. This one is a request for qualifications for co-developer for sites in East Aurora, New York. Today we'll be hearing from both our consultant team here at LISC New York, as well as our clients, Delta Development, as we provide information on this project. My name is Rhonda Lee Davis. I'm one of the senior program officers here at LISC New York, and we're about to get started. So just a quick overview about LISC. LISC is a 40-year-old organization. We are a national organization. Our goal is to bridge relationships and expertise to assist community organizations as they work to attract resources to do the work around community development. We also leverage our relationships across state agencies to allow for capital resources to enter communities throughout the states and areas in which we operate. So we work closely with community organizations to connect with residents and to advance the goals that these same community organizations prioritize. Sorry about that. So in our 45-year history, LISC has deployed over $35 billion of investment. Since 1979, we have created over 83 million square foot of commercial retail and commercial space, which includes schools. And we are proud to say that we have created over 530,000 homes during that time. LISC New York specifically, which is the flagship office of LISC, supports local residents across the state. We partner to create communities of opportunity. And that impact is vested in areas of housing, commercial, and community spaces. And we also, as in the case of the NILOP, provide specialized training and technical assistance for developers and other organizations. And the goal there is to build our partner capacity and to really nurture community leadership. So in that time, we have deployed over $4 billion, leveraged another $10 billion, and created 50,000 units of affordable housing. In 2024, we had a record of $124.2 million that was deployed into the state. And we also, amongst the monies that were used at that point, was also to develop and build out the New York Land Opportunity Program, which you'll hear a little bit more about. I'm going to take a minute to turn it over to one of our presenters, Mr. Jimmy Miller. Jimmy is a consultant with Sincere Consulting, a small powerhouse firm that provides holistic strategic planning and development consultancy. He has served in a myriad of leadership roles, including the Deputy Assistant Secretary to the Governor of New York, the Deputy General Manager, I'm so sorry, Jimmy, the Deputy General Manager for NYCHA, and the President of the New York Housing Trust Corporation. And over the past 4.5 years, he has led and developed programs for over 11,000 units of housing at a cost of $2.5 billion. Mr. Miller, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rhonda Lee. You said 4.5 years. I appreciate that. That makes me feel a lot. That makes me feel a lot younger. So, in any case, go to the next slide, please. All right, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the New York Land Opportunity Program. I've had the opportunity to work with LISC New York for the last 3 years, and with our team as well. So we know that many faith-based organizations and mission-driven organizations own their own land, but they don't have the capabilities to develop that land. And we know there's a lack of affordable housing in New York State as well as most states. And so for the last 3 years, been working with LISC New York and our team to close that gap between the ownership interests by the FPOs and MDOs. And our job is to provide the capacity to enable them to bring their dreams to fruition. So program started out in the first year was solely restricted to New York City. We expanded it after that to include Western New York and upstate New York. And then in 2025, we were lucky enough to expand the program so it's statewide. So, and we currently have 9 cohort members in the 2025 cohort, and we have 17 members of the 2022 and 2025 cohort. So we're happy to say that we're working with 17 different MBOs, FBOs under this NALOC program. Next slide, please. Again, I'm not gonna go through all of this. Go back to the other slide, please. As you can see, we have a myriad of churches and nonprofits, and we're happy to say that they're spread throughout Western New York, Hudson Valley, and upstate New York, as well as New York City. So we're proud to say that we think the program is reflective of needs of the entire state of New York. Next slide, please. As I said, been lucky enough over the past couple of months to work with the Delta Development of Western New York. They've been great partners, and take the opportunity to introduce James Lonergan. He is the executive director for Delta Development of Western New York. James has been in this field of real estate development, community planning, and housing policy for the last 30 years. And throughout his career, he's been a leader in the development, management, and preservation of high quality affordable housing. We've been lucky enough to see some of their prior work, and it's really been indicative of their commitment to providing quality housing of choice. And his expertise spans financing, strategic planning, stakeholder engagement, and organizational leadership. And on his direction, the organization has strengthened its impact, delivering sustainable housing solutions that support economic mobility and community vitality. So it was a pleasure that I introduced James to you guys. James, next slide, please. Also, and then I'll let James take the honor of introducing Nicholas. Go ahead, James.
Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, Nick Filbert is the Capital Projects Director here at Delta Development. He's been with us since 2014. He comes largely from a construction background. When he came here to work with us at Delta Development, he largely took over seeing our maintenance issues and our capital needs. So he's developed a lot of our capital 15-year capital project needs. He's oversaw a number of rehabilitations that we've done and repositioning. So he's done projects as large as 124 units. We did a rehab of that project back in 2015, and then he's done some of our smaller projects, a 10-unit tax credit property that we repositioned a few years ago. Lots of experience in both construction and construction management.
And James, tell us something about your organization.
So Delta Development started back in 1989, and we kind of grew out of one of our sister agencies in Syracuse, New York, called Christopher Communities. They developed some of our earliest projects, which were back in 1979. So there's some HUD project-based subsidy projects. And in 1989, basically, they some of the folks that work here in Western New York started their own organization, Delta Development, and we kind of picked up where they left off. We're associated with the Diocese of Buffalo, and a lot of our focus has been repurposing diocesan land. So a few years ago, we converted the Holy Family School, which is in South Buffalo, to apartments. About 15 years ago, we converted the convent of the Mount St. Mary's Academy to apartments. So our general focus has been repurposing diocesan properties, but we have some new builds as well. We've done a number of tax credit properties, a number of HUD properties. We've done some repositionings, and in the past couple of years, we've been focusing on some redevelopments. Our most recent project we closed in 2024. That was the Angeles House Apartments in Cheektowaga, New York, and that was a conversion of a former academy, which was owned by the Felician sisters, into 67 apartments, tax credit, historic tax credits. 1/3 of those units had supportive services actually.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, James. As I said, this New York, the NALA program is designed to close that gap between desires of our organizations and their capabilities. So we have a team that consists of an attorney, myself, and architect. And the architecture firm that we work with is ESKW Architects, and working with Randy Woods and his team. So I'm gonna let Randy is again joined ESKW in 1988. He spent 4 decades shaping the firm's collaborative, technically grounded approach. Again, their firm is committed to these mission-driven organizations, and they work with settlement housing, which is MDO, Clinton Housing Development, Wildlife Conservation, WHED Co., Omni New York, and Homeward New York City. Jason is known for his calm, pragmatic leadership, and I can attest to his calmness. And he works well under duress. I can also attest to that. And he's very good at putting complex ideas and helping. What we do is help the organizations take their ideas again, and we help them turn those ideas into actual programmatic programs. And so Jason's also, I mean, not Jason, Randy's also a registered architect in New York, and he's a graduate of New York Institute of Technology. So I'll introduce you to Randy Woods. Next slide, please, Randy.
Yeah, I'm glad you got off that slide. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to just speak briefly about the site and what's being proposed at the moment to do there. Most of this information is, if not all of it, is in the RFQ, and you can find it. But there's a couple of things about the site I'll mention as we go along, which may not be so evident when you if you don't actually physically go there and see it. So what's being proposed is 40 units broken down into 8 buildings of 5 units, housing for workforce as well as elderly and individuals with disability. In addition to the 8 small residential buildings, there is a small community facility building. There's a small maintenance building, and at the moment, 46 parking spaces. We go to the next slide. So the site, you can see it's about 418,000 square feet. That's, if I do my math correctly, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 acres. There are the 8 residential buildings, and they break down into 3 1-bedrooms, a 2-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom. And there's a very basic illustration of that in the RFQ. So we have approximately 37,000 square feet of residential, the 27,000 square feet of community space, a little 375 square foot maintenance shack. So the combined construction is about 40,000 square feet. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so on the left is the site and sort of some zoning information about the site. What I want to point out is the tree line, bank line on the on the north end of the site, which I guess would be the back of the site. There's actually a bit of a fall off there to a creek behind the site, and the development has purposely stayed away from that portion of the site, and so we're basically developing somewhere probably between half and two-thirds of the site, something like that. On the right, you can see the currently proposed idea, the eight residential buildings. As I said, three one bedrooms, a two bedroom, and a three bedroom. They all have individual entrances from the exterior. Small parking areas in front of each group. You can see the community space there in the center. There's also a little bit of an idea of what that would be in the RFQ. And the crescent shape is coming off of Quaker Road from an existing, taking advantage of an existing entrance. I think that's it. Is there another slide for me? I can't remember. Yes. Okay. So there's the one extra slide, just a sort of rendering to get a sense of the thinking of Delta on sort of what this might look like, the feel of it. But I will note the low rise of it, which I think is important to Delta, and the sort of breaking it down into multiple buildings, which I also think throughout time we sort of determined was preferred by Delta. So.
Jimmy, you're muted.
Thank you, Randy. As I said before, the development expert team that works with LISC New York and the MDOs, the FPOs consists of myself and ESKW, and last but not least is our attorney, which is Jason LeBate and his team from Goldstein and Hall. And Jason specializes in real estate and community development, and more importantly, and most importantly, in nonprofit governance and project finance. He also serves as counsel to JOE New York City, a first of its kind affordable housing collaboration recognized with the NYU Greenland Prize for Law and Social Entrepreneurship. He also helped close Joe New York NYC's multi-building solar project, producing 700,000 kilowatt hours annually. Jason is also a leader in the firm's faith-based practice group, advising faith-based organizations on asset protection and development strategy. He's a frequent speaker on the faith-based development circuit, and he also is collaborating again with the New York State Council of Churches, which honor him with a Community Development Award. So as you can see, Jason is well versed in the field of nonprofits and faith-based organizations. Again, Jason LeBate. Jason, next slide. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. Next slide. So Goldstein Hall, as stated, is a small but mighty law firm that practices throughout New York State and across the country in some limited respect, with a focus on affordable housing and community development, and sub-focus in faith-based development. And so we're serving as legal technical advisors to LISC on the NILOP project. Our role is, or has been to date, to review the legal considerations of the organizations, the participants, and their real property to ensure that they are ready and able to participate in an affordable housing transaction. A caveat here is that title has been ordered and is in process. Things take a little bit more time outside of New York City on title compilation. And so the title report is expected in at the beginning of the second week of March. We're going to promptly review it, and that will be added as an addendum to the RFQ that has been issued. So we don't expect there to be any title issues, but for the sake of being thorough, it'll be added to the RFQ package, ideally and expectantly within with at least 1 week remaining on the submission. So that's our role in making sure that organizations and their real property are prepared. We assist in the issuance of the RFQ and ensuring that the legal goals of the participants are realistic and clear as part of this project. And then we will help in the review of responses and proposals and opportunities and risks thereof. So what you can see before you that I just want to make clear, hopefully looks very familiar to all of the participants on the call. But this is a somewhat standard LIHTC, low income housing tax credit transaction organizational chart. And this is sort of what we would expect ownership to look like. So in addition to the appraised value of the property being paid to Delta in consideration for contributing its property to this project, we would expect them to be in the ownership as set forth in this organizational chart, as well as to receive a commensurate portion of the developer's fee. Right? That's why these are multi-line beneficial to the community, the participants, and the developers. So as you can see here, this contemplates a lease structure. A lease is possible here. I don't think that it's a requirement, but you can see here this organizational structure contemplates a lease from the the mission-driven organization, in this case, Delta, which has its roots obviously in a faith-based organization, but it itself is and has its origins in faith-based, but itself is not. And then we have the beneficial owner contemplated here. It may or may not use a housing development fund corporation as a nominee, if you're familiar with that structure. But the beneficial owner here would obviously have the developer and a development agreement. And the expectation is that the developer would have a consulting agreement with Delta for its services and its share of the developer fee. And then as we work our way down, you see tax credit investor, special member, and managing member. And in the managing member, as we go down, is a special purpose entity, and then ultimately the developer and Delta. So as part of your response, I don't think an organizational chart for the project is required, but to make sure that that all respondents understand what is generally expected. This is generally the sort of organizational structure that we'll expect, and the compensation for Delta's participation and for the property that's expected is acquisition price, share of the developer's fee, and some share of ownership and ongoing cash flow. That's it for me. Thank you.
And Jimmy, if you're speaking, we're not hearing you.
The RFQ submission due date is March 20, 2026. I believe the time is 3 p.m. local time. And then that date and time is firm unless it's there's an addendum that would be issued. We expect to select a co-developer in April 2026. And the first document that's executed between the co-developer and the FPO or MDO is an exclusivity agreement, and that exclusivity agreement that bounds the two parties together for 120 days. That 120 days is allowed to make sure that the co-developer fully understands the endeavor and gives them time to do the due diligence necessary to determine if the project is feasible, to make modifications, suggest modifications to the concept plan that is outlined in the RFQ. And at the end of 120 days, our goal is to have the two parties execute a development agreement or a master development agreement that will outline in greater detail the roles of each parties, the sharing of developer fees and the sharing of cash flow and all those things. Also, the guarantees that each firm shall make or not make. So that is our proposed timeline for getting to an agreement by September of 2026. Next slide, please. Again, purpose of RFQ is again for us to work with Delta. We issued the RFQ. You can see the site that we just talked about, Randy talked about. But our goal really is to find a co-developer whose mission is aligned with that of the NALA program, as well as the goals and objectives of Delta. So that is the overriding purpose of the RFQ. Next slide, please. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but again, most developers are aware that we are looking for a developer with the financial capabilities to provide the necessary guarantees to bring this project to fruition. We're also looking for them to help us refine the site concept plan and ascertain and get all the local approvals, to be responsive to the community, and as Jason said at some point in time, to help us organize the ownership entity that will own this entity as well. Next slide, please. Minimum requirements. The RFQ does list minimum requirements. You need to have developed two projects of a comfortable size and scope over the last 5 years. You need to have experience in debt and equity and working with HCR and other state subsidy programs. And you need to have experience in transition ownership from yourself to a nonprofit or faith organization, because it is our goal that at the end of 15 years, we do expect the nonprofit to FPO to be given the right of first refusal. So next slide, please. I think talked about this development team characteristics again. These are the veteran criteria that we'll be using to work with our team and New York LISC, and more importantly, to work with Delta Development, select a development team that provides the most response to the RFQ. Again, has experience in tax credits and ACR. And again, as I stated just a few seconds ago, has developed two projects of a comfortable size and scope over the last 5 years. Next slide, please. Due dates again, February 26th is that will be today. And next deadline is again, deadlines for questions. We will take questions shortly, and we will also take questions up until March 4th. And you can see where those questions need to be submitted to, nalop@lisc.org. And then we will respond to your questions again online by March 9th. And the firm deadline, as I said it shortly before, is March 20th, 2026 at 3 p.m. local. And that date and time is firm, no exceptions. Next slide, please. That is it. Again here, I think I'll give this back to Rhonda Lee Davis. Rhonda?
Thanks, Jimmy. So as Jimmy said, if you have any questions about the presentation, any questions about the RFQ, any questions about the proposed, anything you've heard in proposed development, please send them to nilop@list.org. We will be compiling those questions and we'll have them posted to our website by the deadline. I know that the chat was not enabled. It is now. So if you have any questions, you can post them there. You can also send questions to us in the Q&A box. If you'd like to ask your question live as well, I do think we have the opportunity you can do the raise hand feature and we'll allow you to talk. So this is our Q&A period. So if you have any questions, of course, just now you can definitely ask them. I see there's one current question in the chat or in the Q&A box. And this one is going to be for Delta. And I think this question goes towards sort of like your decision to develop an empty parcel. And the question comes from the attendee, specifically referring the former Christ the King Seminary, asking what went into the decision to proceed with ground up building on an empty parcel rather than doing a development on Christ the King Seminary, given your histories focusing on Sectarian sites.
Thank you, Rhonda. Generally, we look at each project individually. So if we were looking at a particular diocesan property, we try to see if there's enough square feet in the building there to produce what we're looking to produce. So our first goal is always when the diocese reach out to us, hey, we have this property over here, and we'll go and take a look at it and see whether or not it makes sense for us. So Christ the King is actually a property we have been looking at because there's some different things going on with some of the different properties throughout the diocese. But we have over this vacant land, which is about a mile outside the village of Aurora. It's right next to one of our existing properties. A 33 unit tax credit property opened up back in 1996, 1997. We've got the vacant land there. So part of, originally this land was going to be a phase 2 of that property. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're looking to develop this property to make sure we have a good neighbor next to our existing property, that we can meet the need for affordable housing within the community. And then we can kind of bolster our ability to staff our other projects. So you figure 33 units, we've got a part-time maintenance person, a part-time manager in that building. So building another property of comparable or slightly larger size allows us to staff both those buildings with one full-time person. Out in that area, it's very difficult to hire somebody part-time for this type of work. The people that we have doing the work now are kind of going back and forth between different properties. So there's a number of different ways we looked at this, but generally the vacant land's there. We want to provide a good neighbor to our other property. You don't want to compete with that property. We know there's a good demand for affordable housing. This is a relatively affluent community. So rents are very high. It's very difficult for folks that are trying to that are working within the village of East Aurora to afford to live there. Many of the folks that work in the business industry, whether they're working for the grocery store or the coffee shops and things like that, actually come in from outside the area. Our property is about a mile from downtown, so it's relatively close. So we think there's relatively good demand for it, and we've got the resources there to develop. And plus, we own the land, which is something that's pretty hard to come by in East Aurora. But that's the general thinking of why we're developing that.
Thanks so much, Jim. If there are any other questions for the team at Delta Development, for the team at LISC, you can post them now. If not, we just want to share that you can contact us at any time. You can reach me at my email, rdavis@list.org, or reach out to us at NILOP, or reach out to Jimmy and Sincere at an email highlighted on the screen. We did have one question about the deck. The deck will be available upon request if you send an email to nilop@list.org. And then the recording, of course, will be posted, or it will be posted on the website on the LISC NILAB webpage in the next few days. So if there are no other questions, which I don't think
Rhonda,
there.
can I ask a quick technical question?
Yes, sir.
And the reason I want to put that is because we invited a number of folks that we've worked with in the past. Is it in your intention that any questions coming should come directly to you, and then the folks shouldn't reach out to us directly with questions, or what's your sense there?
The sense is, well, the path that we prefer is if you send the questions to nilab@lisc.org. What we do is we do compile them and then we do post them on the website so to be available then. I think this process is typically what we do for all of our RFQs, and the idea being that it's just a better information sharing and better tracking that way. So if the questions are coming to the Delta development team, because people are more familiar with you, but you'd like for them to be included in the RFQ or the question submissions to be all, to compile and then put on the website, it would also make sense that you can also just send them to us if people are more familiar asking you, if people are more comfortable doing it that way.
Rhonda Lee,
Yes, sir.
we also state that, given this is a publicly, RFQ, it's very important that all the respondents get the same answers to the same questions. So again, it's critical that we get all the questions disseminated back to us so we can ensure that everybody who was potential respondent gets the answers to the questions. And same answers to the same questions as well.
That's correct. Thanks, Jimmy. All right, so with that, I'm going to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to the team. Thank you to Delta Development for joining us and providing us all the great information. And thank you to our attendees for joining us today. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And then we hope to see you on the next information session for NILAB. Thank you so much.
Thanks all. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, everybody.